Hello, my name is Zach Tambier, and this is a dive into adolescent entrepreneurship. So, firstly, some context about a definition of scope of what entrepreneurship actually is. And entrepreneurship just refers to the process of designing, building, and launching a business. But starting a business can be risky, but something worse than just not starting a business is not taking any risks in this. And that's what I'm trying to discover within this. Some more background. A recent survey and multiple surveys have found that around 60% of teenagers are interested in starting their own business, and this just reflects a shift towards entrepreneurial ambition at a younger age. And for my own personal interest, I have my own company. I have a car detailing business, which I started at the beginning of this year, and I want to use this. I've used this study and my own relationship with my business to kind of further connect how I can further what I'm doing, both in the classroom and outside. So the main problem and gap. There's two main problems. There's an age-centric research bias and a lack of developmental insight. So firstly, most of the research out there right now is focusing on predominantly adult entrepreneurs and already established businesses. There's no studies on young adolescents starting their own new businesses. And then there's a specific need and dynamics of an adolescent entrepreneurial journey influenced by their age, cognitive development, and limited experience that have not been sufficiently addressed. And this is the gap I've hoped to answer. So, my research question: how does self-confidence affect venture outcomes among teenage entrepreneurs, and in what ways does self-assurance shape their approach to business challenges and opportunities? And a review of literature. So the first definition that we're going to need to know is entrepreneurial self-efficacy, and that is confidence in one's ability to undertake entrepreneurial tasks. Extensive research has shown that entrepreneurs tend to exhibit higher levels of ESE among various domains, including opportunity recognition, marketing, and innovation compared to non-entrepreneurial counterparts. But ESE is merely not a theoretical construct. It manifests in tangible entrepreneurial behaviors. Studies have associated higher amounts of ESE with more significant innovation, risk-taking, and keen opportunity identification, and a positive approach from learning from failure. So the second definition is EO, or entrepreneurial orientation, and that is strategic posture emphasizing innovation, risk-taking, and proactiveness. There's been a lot of studies that have illuminated the association between EO and higher financial and non-financial performance. This includes, in a financial side, things like sales growth and market share, underlying a pivotal role of EO in entrepreneurial success. However, it's crucial to acknowledge the debate surrounding the universality of entrepreneurial orientation performance relationship. People have said things like entrepreneurial culture comes into play, and studies have shown that EO performance link can be strengthened by a conductive entrepreneurial culture, but extreme EO might lead to diminishing returns. But there's little evidence for any of this within teenagers. So, my two main goals. Firstly, it's investigating the mental process and cognitive frameworks of young entrepreneurs, and especially in the early stages of the entrepreneurial journey. And secondly is to elucidate how ESE and EO can serve as factors contributing to the growth and success of these young entrepreneurs' new companies. So some ethical considerations. I'll get more than this in my methods, but I did interviews, so they needed to know the purpose of the study. I've hidden their identities within this, and they were allowed to contact me at any time to be removed. But each participant is over 18, and they are all aware of all of this. So, my methods. My participants. I gave a quick thing about how they're all 18 years old, but there were 5 seniors that attend here at this Brophy, and they're all part of the Young Entrepreneurs Club, and I, in total, gathered around 55 minutes worth of interviews, so around 11 minutes per interview. So my qualitative interview format. So the interview format was semi-structured, allowing for open-ended questions while ensuring consistency in key topics. The reason I'm doing this is to cover critical topics while allowing this comprehensive flexibility. I was able to do this better than I think a questionnaire because it allows for people to give me really in-depth storytelling that I wouldn't be able to get from a questionnaire in person. So these are a list of some of my questions. So I've listed also here what I was asking or what I wanted to see from the question, and one example is, how do you weigh various options and potential outcomes when making important business decisions? This is looking at seeing how they take risk taking and seeing if they're kind of looking for in the future of seeing how will this decision affect this, what are some of the possible bad and good outcomes of this. And this is all based off of another study. This is my parents' study. I wasn't able to find another study that did specifically qualitative interviews, but I did find studies that asked questionnaires relating to business and courage. This one had questions like, if something scares me, I try to get away from it. Even if I feel terrified, I'll stay in that situation and until I've done what I need to do. I turned these questions from very direct yes or no or Likert scale questions to being able to transform them into something more indirect and allow for more open conversation within the interviews. So my inductive qualitative coding process that I did after I finished each interview. So firstly, inductive coding, what is it? It's looking for themes as they arrive. Because as I mentioned before, there was no interviews that were looking at for confidence within business owners. I did this to see for looking for new themes and things like that. And then the first step of this is transcription. This is the process of turning recorded items, such as when I recorded my interviews, and turning that into text. Transcription is crucial because I was able to take that test and thematic code it. This is an example of some of my initial coding. Right here you can see I've highlighted some main quotes that I gave that I thought were in the future I would be able to use as themes. And then I gave some annotations like applies risk to reward in mind. And he says definitely my determination as one of an ability that he's learned because of his entrepreneurial journey. I just wrote ability, determination. Things like that, very basic in the beginning of coding. So I then started organizing this data. I wish I had more examples on this, but there was different ways I was able to label my codes, such as red highlights for things like risk taking, yellow highlights was for abilities and things like that. And then theme development, as I came about transcribing all of my interviews, I found 5 major themes, which I'll talk about later, but all these themes relate to confidence and self-esteem boosts and how and that's just how they were developed. And then lastly was the data interpretation. It's the final step in the analysis process involving interpreting the themes and their significance. Some limitations. This qualitative research relied heavily on hoping that the business owners were honest with me, noticing that business that I talked about involved people's financial, how they were doing within this. I was a little worried about people being honest and telling me if they were successful or not, and there's just an individual subjectivity by each participant because of that. So I've grouped my results and discussions together as I think it would be easier to kind of describe them kind of just going forward as they kind of group together. So the first theme that I have here is resilience in the face of setbacks. So the prevailing theme of resilience in the face of setbacks emerged strongly in all of the participants, but I've chosen two main quotes that I think really represent this. The first is from Tommy. He does stock day trading, and he's mentioned how he blew a $6,000 account, and he was really bummed about it, but he mentioned how it's like investing in tuition for your college and things like that. It's investing so that you can learn later about what you just did and just moving forward from that. And then Adam, another interviewee, shared his approach emphasizing the power of community and collaborations. He stated, I think a lot of what I do is in collaboration with other people. So I think going into an adventure is also a type of collateral safety that you can have. Instead of kind of like just thinking of things as, oh, I made a mistake, how can I bounce back as that? He has like this team and like environment of support that he mentions as like enhancing his resilience and able to pull him forward. So next up is real world experience over formal education. For this one I chose two quotes from Rick, and he offers a compelling illustration of this. He first mentions how he wasn't really good with talking to people, but because he started working at a cafe, and serving people, he was able to like learn social skills and things like that. And secondly, Rick mentioned how he wants to study like how to be a mechanic and further his learning with high-end cars in the future. So he's taken a pay cut and got a new job at Jiffy Lube, and he's learned things like how to like manage cars, how to tune up things and things like that because of this, and that's what he wants to do in the future. So what he's doing right now is real world experience to propulse him forward. And then next is strategic risk management. Tommy mentioned directly how he applies a risk to reward ratio, especially when dealing with day trading, to be proactive in analyzing the risks. And then Adam mentioned how he lacks a fixed threshold for risk, but instead suggests like a flexible case-by-case evaluation within the same idea of like a risk to reward ratio in his head. But he says that because he's a kid, he doesn't think that he has that many risks in his life because he's so young and starting his entrepreneurial journey so early. He thinks how he can have a lot of time to just fully just try everything and try new things. So next one is entrepreneurial self-efficacy. This confidence was foundational to their willingness to pursue new ventures and face challenges head-on. Barry mentions how he said, I am able to come up with new ideas and solve problems in entrepreneurship, reflecting like a common sentiment of self-assurance in their entrepreneurial capabilities. And then another participant, Gary, mentioned how he has bolstered his self-confidence because he worked on a lot of people skills and talking to people through an organization called Souls to Souls, because he's the head of communications. And lastly, personal development. Barry's reflection on his experiences also working with Souls to Souls, a nonprofit shoe donation company, highlights the pivotal role of leadership in his personal growth trajectory. Barry articulated how being one of the heads of the organization not only enabled him to cultivate his leadership capabilities, but empowered him to mobilize others toward a common goal. And then for a conclusion. So all the findings reveal that confidence can risk-taking and being strategic in these things can significantly contribute to furthering their entrepreneurship and their businesses. But experimental learning and I think strategic thinking and education are needed as a framework to help further people wanting to pursue things in the entrepreneur field. Thank you.
Right, so that's 14 minutes.